Hi Starwood neighbors, I'm Cindy Ashe and I'm honored to serve as your Starwood HOA president. Joining me in this video message is Dan Bollner, our HOA treasurer.
Thanks Cindy, and greetings fellow Starwood homeowners. Cindy and I decided to utilize video technology to speak to you about an extremely important issue that Starwood is facing.
The issue that Dan is referring to is the availability of water for irrigating our common areas and the rising costs for that water that we obtain from the city of Frisco. Now, currently, less than half of Starwood's common areas are being irrigated by water from our own well. More than 50% of the common areas in Starwood are being irrigated by water that we purchase from the city of Frisco. Next year, the cost of that water will be approximately $115,000 due to the recent announced 14% price increase. We expect additional price increases in city water in the near future. Now, in addition to the price increases, an enormous concern to us is the prospect of restrictions on the use of any city water for landscape irrigation. This action is known as Stage 4 water restrictions, and it came very close to being a reality earlier this year. If we do experience a prolonged Stage 4 water restriction, it would seriously threaten Starwood's multi-million-dollar landscape investment. So a viable option to uncontrollable costs and Stage 4 water restrictions is a project to drill a second water well and install pipelines to distribute water to our common areas that are currently being irrigated by water purchased from the city of Frisco. Now, Dan, you're the treasurer. Would you review the dollars and cents economics of this project for everyone?
Be happy to, Cindy. Earlier this year, the HOA board authorized engineering feasibility and cost estimate studies for the water well project. Water quality and quantity was validated by these studies, as was construction feasibility for the well and pipeline distribution system. The cost estimate for a new well and distribution system is $1.5 million, and that cost was confirmed by 2 engineering firms. That sounds like a large amount of money, and it is, but the payback period for this capital expenditure is 15 years, assuming a very conservative $100,000 savings per year on city water from Frisco water costs. Charlie Daniel, James Wiggins, and I serve as the board finance committee, and we examined the project using multiple economic measures. But the bottom line is this: all traditional economic analysis points to a couple of simple concepts that justify financing the well project. First, with interest rates at their current historic low, we anticipate that we can repay the cost of financing the well with the savings from using our own water instead of much more expensive city water. Since the amount of time needed to break even on the project equals to the length of the term of the loan, it makes financing the project a viable option. Second, if we do nothing, we'll be paying much higher prices for city water and be subject to public water usage restrictions. So, it is the recommendation of the Starwood Finance Committee that we proceed with this project if we can secure financing at a 15-year term and at an interest rate that minimizes the need for a dues increase.
Now, Dan, let me clarify that last point. The board, of course, can't guarantee that a dues increase will not be necessary in the near future for reasons we can't foresee right now. But the economics of financing a new well indicate that the savings on using our own well water should pay back both principal and interest on the loan. And since we certainly don't see the cost of city water decreasing in the future, we may recognize even greater savings depending on the future price and availability of city water.
That's correct. Cindy, if I may, I'd like to ask some questions about the project that were discussed at a recent village representative meeting. Why is this project being proposed now?
Well, one of the things that we understand is that obtaining permits for wells is going to become much more closely restricted. We understand that after 2012, the process of obtaining a permit for a well may become much more significant. Right now, it's fairly easy, and we want to get in on the ground floor while we can still do that easily. And also because the costs right now for financing are so low, it does seem that now is the time to do it.
I might add that we've had some early responses from bankers that I do believe this project is financeable in the terms that we've stated. But that will take a serious negotiation with a group of bankers. That's competently being handled by our local team of bankers, headed up by James Wiggins, our board member and finance committee member. Moving along, let's see where that well might be located and what part of Starwood right now is on city water and what part of Starwood is on our own well water right now.
Okay, well, what we're going to do is show you the map right now. When we look at this map, all of this area east of the creek is currently irrigated by city water. The area that's west of the creek, which is a little less than 50%, is irrigated by Starwood well water. And that water costs us very little to pump out of the ground and distribute to all those common areas. So that's the area that we plan to irrigate with a second well. And the place that the engineers have selected for irrigating, or for actually putting that new well, is up here in the northwest corner of Starwood, kind of behind the end of Sweeney Trail, behind those lakes. It actually is removed from houses, from homes. It's in an area that we can't develop because it's in a floodplain area. It's designated as floodplain area. So that's the furthest most corner of Starwood is where it would be placed.
Very good. Here's a tough one. Is how likely would it be for Frisco to go to stage 4 water restrictions?
That's a really good question. And the answer is more likely than we would like to believe. We were very close to going to stage 4 water restrictions this year. And thank goodness we received some very unusual rains. But even at that, even with all the rain that we have received, and I believe we're still an inch above our average, Lake Lavon is still only 74% full right now. With the development in the North Texas area, there's no additional reservoirs that we see on the horizon that are planned. So water is going to become one of the most precious commodities in North Texas, and we only see the cost of it going higher.
Well, thank you for that. I think we can wrap this up and summarize the message that we'd like to get out today. And I would just say that I would ask our homeowners to watch for additional communications that will be coming on this over this month before voting. There will be magazine articles in our local magazine, and there will be weekly e-blast updates of the activities, and we're planning on a mailer to inform, to communicate the issues involved with this project. It's so important when we're asking for a vote like we are.
We have an annual meeting that's scheduled for Tuesday, October the 23rd at 7 p.m. in the community center. The well topic is going to be one of the priority topics that we discuss at that annual meeting. So I'd like to ask for all of you to please come join us at that meeting. We'll stay after, we'll answer questions, any concerns that you have. There'll be a time for a question and answer where we can certainly address any concerns. So that would be one of the things that we'd like to ask you to do. And lastly, I want to take this opportunity to thank Dan and his finance committee, James Wiggins and Charlie Daniel, for all of the work that they've done evaluating the financial feasibility of this project. Dan, you've done a great job. We appreciate your leadership for Starwood also, always, and the service that you provide to us. Thanks.
Well, thanks so much, and all I can say is let's get her done.
Thanks so much, guys. We appreciate it.